Part 23. I changed my profession and became a concept god, shocking the world with one knife. Author, How Like the Human World. Chapter 221. This scene was not only surprising to Suran, but also to others. The man in black robe was helping the Du family to resist Limu and the others just now, but after just a moment, he slapped Du Tao with his palm. No one knows what happened. After the huge explosion, when everyone looked back, a deep crater had been blown out near where Du Tao was standing. The surrounding area was even razed to the ground, and some of the Du family members who were close by were blown into ashes before they could escape. Shui Dongliu fell to the ground, his black robe was torn to pieces, and blood spilled from the corners of his mouth. He was a 9-level professional, but he had been injured continuously in just a few days. If I hadn't been seriously injured, how could I have been injured by Du Tao? Damn it! Shui Dongliu glanced at the young man in the sky and realized that all this was thanks to him. If he ruins our teaching's important affairs twice in a row, if he doesn't get rid of him, there will be endless troubles. While Shui Dongliu was still thinking about how to get rid of Suran, Du Tao attacked with another punch. Huh? Du Tao, you are so brave. Shui Dongliu roared, but it was just a roar. Facing this punch, he could only dodge. If he hadn't been injured by Suran, how could he be in such a mess? Even with the blessing of the Fire Spirit Pearl, Du Tao would never be his match. Being chased and beaten by Du Tao now was a great shame and humiliation for him. Shui Dongliu, you are unkind, don't blame me for being unjust. Since you want to kill me, then you don't want to live. After Du Tao's punch just now, he realized that Shui Dongliu's punch was useless now, and his strength was very low. He wanted to use the 10 minutes blessed by the Fire Spirit Pearl to kill Shui Dongliu first and then Suran. So he would not give Shui Dongliu time to breathe. You wanna die? Shui Dongliu used the melted snow water to form a waterfall and hit Du Tao. Du Tao's strength has skyrocketed now, so naturally he won't care about such a weak attack. However, after he smashed the waterfall with one punch, he found that Shui Dongliu's figure had disappeared. Du Tao frowned. Although his strength had skyrocketed, he was not a 9th-level professional after all. He could not discover Shui Dongliu's escape trajectory. Now that Shui Dongliu had run away, he could only look up at the two dragons in the sky. Limu and Limu in the distance looked at the flame giant transformed by Du Tao in surprise. The man in black robe lost so quickly. Du Tao is probably as strong as a 9th-level professional in terms of strength now. The two of them didn't know that Shui Dongliu was seriously injured, so they were a little surprised by Du Tao's current strength. After all, the man in black robe defeated the three of them with one move. Governor Li, what should we do? It looks like Du Tao is going to take action against Suran. Moreover, it is inevitable that the 8-armed stone demon will evolve into a national boss. This is also a disaster. Zhou Bufan looked worriedly at the battlefield in the distance. Wanshan City must not be saved. It is not known how many people will die in this disaster. Let's take it one step at a time. I have informed the superiors that Wanshan City can only give up. Limu looked at the Wanshan City professionals present and shouted. Everyone, please inform your family members immediately and evacuate Wanshan City immediately. The 8-armed stone demon will evolve immediately. What? Mr. Governor, can Wanshan City be defended? Is the national boss really that scary? Many people have never seen a national boss and have no idea how terrifying it is. Everyone, please inform your family first. I have never seen a national level boss, but there is a reason why it is called a national level boss. After hearing this, everyone got into chaos, and at least 90% of the people rushed back to Wanshan City. Their families are still in the city. As for the remaining adults, they are not from Wanshan City and are confident enough to run away later. They still want to see what it's like to see a national level boss. After Li Mu finished his instructions, he looked at his hundreds of subordinates. Brothers, there may be a tough battle later. Our goal is to delay the 8-armed stone demon as much as possible and buy the people of Wanshan City time to escape. This is not a mandatory order. If you want to leave, you can leave now. After all, we may die in this battle. Even though Li Mu is an 8th level professional, he doesn't have much confidence. Li Mu turned around and didn't look at them. He didn't want to put pressure on them. They also had their own families waiting for them. However, after a long time, there was no sound behind him. Li Mu turned around. None of the hundreds of people he brought with him flinched, and they all had firm eyes. Sir Governor, didn't you say that the purpose of our professional existence is to protect the weak? We ran away today. Who will protect the people of Wanshan City? Even if we die here, we will never take a step back. I have offended the Yeshen cult and the officialdom. There is no place for me in this world. In the end, his body actually began to wither, like a dying old man. Another violent explosion sounded. Suren was still looking for where the man in black robe had gone, but unexpectedly Du Tao started attacking him again. If the dragon hadn't protected him, I would have killed him long ago. I won't give in. Then the whole person rushed towards Suren like a burning meteorite. They were ready to run when they saw something was wrong. Infected by the enthusiasm of these people, many people also chose to join. You're still quibbling, just die. It seems that this is the only way. Just as Du Tao's Hung arrived, people had already arrived. The crowd's voice was like thunder, sonorous and powerful, and they already had the will to die in their hearts. The Ice Dragon King let out a breath of cold air, just in time to collide with Du Tao's rushing body. Even Shui Dongliu couldn't catch his full blow, so why could a dragon be unharmed? Du Tao quickly got up, then knelt on the ground and muttered something. Yes, we will never back down. Either he dies today or I die. Du Tao felt cruel when he thought of this. Governor Li, although we are not from Wanshan City, we are also from Zishuan Prefecture. People from Zishuan are never afraid of fighting. He doesn't believe it. Isn't the strength of 9th rotation not enough? Okay, Zishuan has you, no regrets. Du Tao lay in the pit, with the flames all over his body half extinguished. The cracked ground was once again smashed into a huge deep pit. Roar. The professionals who had not left on the side saw the scene and had to sincerely admire these people. Du Tao stepped hard, and the powerful force directly cracked the earth. Boom. Your father's death has nothing to do with me, but if you must feel that way, then I have nothing to say. Another loud noise came from the distance, and Du Tao took action against Suren. The Ice Dragon King activated his ice shield to block the damage, and also took this opportunity to climb over 1,000 meters to avoid the shockwave of the explosion. How so? Son Suren, give back my father's life. Du Tao was blown down at extremely high speed. Du Tao looked at the ice dragon in the sky in disbelief. Seeing thousands more people joining the team in the blink of an eye, Li Mu nodded. As his chanting became faster and faster, the fire in his body slowly extinguished. I changed my profession and became a concept god, shocking the world with one knife. Author, How Like the Human World. Chapter 222. Oh my god, what kind of beast is that dragon? Du Tao actually lost. Everyone who had not retreated looked into the air in surprise. If I had a pet like this, where in the world wouldn't I go? This is too strong. Do you think it can defeat the evolved 8-armed stone demon? Hearing this, hope ignited in everyone's hearts. If they had a chance to live, no one would want to die. Maybe there is a real chance. Governor Li, didn't you say that this dragon is the level 880 Ice Dragon King from Tianzu Mountain? How could it defeat Du Tao, who is comparable to level 9, with one blow? Zhou Bufan felt a little unreal. I thought that the man in black robe was strong enough, but Du Tao, blessed by the fire spirit pearl, came out. Now Du Tao was sprayed by the dragon again and he didn't know whether he was alive or dead. He could no longer figure out the strength of this dragon. Li Mu shook his head when he heard this. I'm not sure either. Logically speaking, it's impossible for the level 880 Ice Dragon King to defeat Du Tao so easily. I hope it's stronger. He also heard the comments from the people around him. With a strong foreign aid, they can buy more time. At this time, there was a puddle on the side of the battlefield. Shui Dongliu, who had merged with the puddle, couldn't help but sneer in his heart when he saw Du Tao being blown down. You are so courageous if you dare to offend him. I really underestimated you. He didn't run away at all, he just hid aside and waited for the right moment. He knew that as soon as he left, Du Tao would definitely attack Suran, and Du Tao would definitely die by then. In any case, the task could not be completed, and he could not make life easier for Du Tao, a traitor. If Suran had not killed him, he would have done it himself. Huh? Why do you feel a little hot? Shui Dongliu looked up into the sky strangely. The source of the heat was from the sky above. At this time, bursts of Sanskrit chanting suddenly came from the sky above the originally peaceful battlefield. Gorgeous flames appeared out of thin air, and the hot breath directly caused countless water vapor to evaporate. The entire world was completely enveloped by high temperatures at this time, and even the color of the sky turned red. What happened? Has the evolution of the eight-armed stone demon been completed? A minute passed, and there was still no movement from the eight-armed stone demon. Everyone looked at the location of the eight-armed stone demon. However, the eight-armed stone demon was still curled up on the ground and motionless. No, that eight-armed stone demon is not of the fire attribute. The only person on the scene who showed strong fire attribute abilities was Du Tao. Everyone hurriedly looked towards the pit, but it was too deep and they were far away and couldn't see anything. Ah! At this time, a scream sounded. The whole body of an old man from the Du family began to burn, and in just an instant, his body was completely burned up. A ray of fire flew out of his body and flew into the sky. Before the rest of the Du family could react, there were several more screams. All the remaining members of the Du family were burned in flames, and in just a short moment, like the first person, they turned into a wisp of fire and flew into the air and disappeared. This weird scene made everyone dumbfounded. How is this going? Why are all the Du family members dead? What happened? At this time, a crazy laugh came from the deep pit where Du Tao fell to the ground. Ha 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 ha, we are all going to die anyway, let's all die together. Du Tao jumped out of the pit in one step, looking up to the sky and laughing. Everyone looked at Du Tao. At this time, he was completely unrecognizable, as thin as a dead branch, and as crazy as a ghost. The Du family was able to rise back then because the Du family signed a contract with the legendary god of fire. The descendants of the Fandu family have the seeds of the contract planted in their bodies when they are born. If one day the Du family encounters a catastrophe of annihilation, they can burn the contract in their bodies and offer it to the god of fire, asking the god of fire to come. Only the head of the Du family knows the secret, and no one else knows. Great Lord Vulcan, come and destroy the world. Du Tao looked crazy. Following his call, the huge flame shadow that had just appeared in the sky reappeared. Shui Dongliu looked at this terrifying figure and was horrified. This is a god with the same aura as the night god. How could the Du family have this method of summoning the gods to come? Shui Dongliu huddled at the bottom of the puddle, no longer daring to look directly at that shuddering figure. After the hundreds of feet of fire god's shadow appeared, his body slowly solidified, and the temperature between heaven and earth became higher and higher. Everyone, bring out all your defense skills. Li Mu roared and called on everyone to use defensive skills. Because of the high temperature, the mountains, rivers, and trees have begun to burn, and the world has completely turned into a sea of fire. With this high temperature, it would be extremely difficult for them to defend themselves in place, let alone fight. The Ice Dragon King carried Suren and the two of them from high altitude to the ground. Even with its ice properties, it felt uncomfortable to be close to the Vulcan Phantom. Brother Su, what is this? Chen Laoba was forced to participate in these battles, and he felt a little bad. As soon as the Vulcan's shadow appeared, his nerves were almost on the verge of collapse. Suren raised his head and looked at the phantom of the god of fire. He had already drawn out the 1,000 blades of the demonic sword in his hand, and then murmured to himself. Why does it solidify so slowly? Can it be faster? When Chen Laoba heard this, he opened his mouth and didn't know what to say. Shouldn't we be praying now that it doesn't come? Why do you still dislike him for being too slow to solidify? Little did Chen Laoba know that Suren's knife could cut through anything. As long as it was not invisible, it was just for delivering food. This Vulcan Phantom has not yet solidified, so Suren really can't kill him. Ha 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 Suren, you know you're scared, right? Seeing Suren coming down, Du Tao laughed wildly. You all have to die, you all have to die, and you all have to be buried with my Du family. Du Tao opened his hands, raised his head and shouted loudly. Welcome Lord Vulcan to the world. Buzz. The Vulcan Phantom opened his eyes for the first time and looked down. Who calls me? Lord Vulcan, kill them, kill everyone here. Du Tao knelt on the ground and shouted loudly. The sinners of the exiled land. Vulcan Phantom was confused for a moment, and then said coldly. As you wish. The fire element between heaven and earth rioted again, and all the flames rushed into the sky. As the Vulcan Phantom absorbed more and more energy, his figure finally solidified. A fiery red flame giant thousands of feet tall successfully descended into the world. Suren looked at this huge so-called god and smiled slightly. You're so big, you don't know if you can take a stab at me. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I changed my profession and became a concept god, shocking the world with one knife. Author, How Like the Human World. Chapter 223. It's over, we're going to die. Originally, they were prepared to die if they dared to stay. But facing such a so-called god, they couldn't even resist. It was a feeling of powerlessness, a complete despair. Limu and Limu also looked at the coming Vulcan in despair. If the 8-armed stone demon evolved into a national boss, they still had a chance to survive. But facing this giant that was over 1,000 feet tall, they didn't even have a chance to escape. The 8-armed stone demon had quietly evolved at this time, but facing this terrifying figure, he could only shrink to the ground and dare not move. Shui Dongliu rushed underground at this time. Originally, his water attribute could restrain fire. But the flames of this god were far beyond what he could bear. Now he can only choose to escape. I want to tell the leader and Lord Yagamai about this. Yes, the failure of this mission was also due to the appearance of this Vulcan. Shui Dongliu finally thought of a perfect reason. This way he won't be punished. The outer battlefield. The towering and majestic Tianguan Tower stands in the sky like the Great Wall. The city walls that are hundreds of feet high are all made of black gold or even black gold. Upon closer inspection, the outer wall of Tianguan is covered with traces of swords, spears, axes and halberds, and there are countless solidified blood engraved on it. Under the Tianguan is an endless black abyss, and I don't know how the Tianguan stands on it. On a city wall in Dongtianguan, several old men were patrolling Tianguan on a daily basis. Suddenly, everyone felt something and looked towards the endless abyss below. That direction is where the Blue Star Dragon Kingdom is located. What a powerful force, what is this? No, Dragon country is in danger. Old Shen, hurry up and take a look. The person called Lao Shen was none other than Shen Lingyuan, a 9th level professional who met Suren last time. No, it's too late. Shen Lingyuan shook his head. And with the strength shown by the other party, even if I go back, I won't be his opponent. How could Blue Star have such a terrifying existence? Why didn't we know? This aura of rebellion is more terrifying than the best of those demons. No, a few people must go back. Our purpose of guarding Tianguan is to protect our people. What if the other party has malicious intentions? Several people discussed it and finally sent 3 people back to find out. I hope this person is not a treacherous and evil person. The remaining few people guarding Tianguan could only pray silently. The arrival of the Vulcan was not only felt by them, but also by professionals above rank 9 in other Blue Star countries. All 9th level professionals looked in the direction of Dragon Kingdom. Some are worried about whether some high-level monsters will appear on Blue Star, while others are worried about whether some invincible characters will appear on Dragon Kingdom. In short, the reactions of various parties vary. Outside Wanshan City, the god of fire took a step forward, and the earth trembled. The Ice Dragon King vomited it out with an absolutely freezing mouthful, but it only sizzled a little and did not stop the other party's steps at all. Is there any mistake? So powerful. The Ice Dragon King's eyes widened and he showed a fearful expression for the first time since he followed Suren. The power of this Vulcan far exceeds it. How dare an ignorant low-level evil dragon attack this god? The Vulcan's voice was like thunder, and he pointed an angry finger at the Ice Dragon King. The powerful power accompanied by the violent fire element scared the Ice Dragon King so much that he hid behind Suren. Master, save me. Suren looked at Vulcan's huge body and said coldly. Just pretend to be with them, pretend to be with me. You're looking for death. A sword beam that was only half a meter long slashed out, which was extremely small compared to the figure that was thousands of feet tall. Ha 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 ha, wait until you die. Lord Vulcan will destroy you and Wanshan City together. Du Tao had completely fallen into madness at this time. How dare the light of fireflies compete with the bright moon? The Vulcan had no intention of avoiding the sword light, and faced it directly with its giant finger. The tiny sword light came into contact with the huge fingers. No one would think that Suren could win. Everyone closed their eyes in despair and waited for death. The blow fell not far from them, and they couldn't survive it. Vulcan's huge eyes showed deep shock. That knife actually passed through its finger, and in just a moment, it was slashed along the arm to all parts of its body. How can this be? Who are you? Vulcan looked in disbelief at the tiny human being who killed him instantly with a knife. Boom! The huge body of the Vulcan disintegrated and turned into streaks of flames falling to the ground. Sinner, this god has remembered you. When my true form comes, I will make you suffer the pain of burning in the fire. After the Vulcan said these words, he was completely reduced to ashes. This is seconds. Chen Laobo looked at Suren in shock. He thought he was going to die. But it was the terrifying Vulcan who died in the next second. What kind of peerless monster is this young man in front of me? TCH, what is this? My master has no problem shooting 10 of these. Without the threat of the Vulcan, the Ice Dragon King became more confident again, holding his dragon's head high with pride on his face, as if he had cut out the knife just now. 10. When Chen Laoba heard this, he felt that he could no longer be called Brother Su, but had to be called Senior Su anyway. We survived. We're not dead, we're actually not dead. Many professionals who stayed behind cried with joy, hugging the people next to them and crying loudly. In the face of death, all living beings are equal. Even if you are not afraid of death, you will lose control of your emotions after experiencing the threat of death and surviving. Did Suren pull out the knife just now? Li Mu looked at Zhou Bufan, wondering if he had seen it wrong. Probably. Zhou Bufan was not sure. After all, this was a bit too shocking. But just now, only Suren drew the knife, and the others had long been suppressed by the terrifying giant finger and were unable to move. Could Minister Wang just mean to wait for Suren? The two of them looked at Wang Changjun, who was still unconscious. Maybe. The sky is closed. Shen Lingyun and others who were just about to leave were suddenly startled. What's going on? Why has that terrifying aura disappeared? Another person speculated, could it be that the aura is hidden? Impossible, how could the other party appear so openly and suddenly disappear without a trace? You stay at Tianguan to defend, and I will investigate alone. Old Shen, then be careful, the opponent's strength is probably around the peak of rank 9. I know. Shen Lingyun nodded, and then stepped into the teleportation array in front of him. I changed my profession and became a concept god, shocking the world with one knife. Author, how like the human world. Chapter 224. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. How could Lord Vulcan die? Why is this happening? Du Tao fell to the ground, looking at the sparks falling in the sky, his eyes full of despair. He sacrificed the entire elite of the Du family, only to get this result. How could he accept it? Suren. I'll fight you. Du Tao struggled to stand up and rushed towards Suren angrily. In his heyday, he couldn't even get close to Suren, let alone now. Suren just held it gently, and Du Tao, who was as thin as a dead branch, was instantly crushed into a ball. The fire of life in Du Tao's eyes went out and he fell down helplessly. The Du family, which had been arrogant in the southwest for hundreds of years, came to an end. Wu Changxin relied on his seventh turn strength to survive in the chaotic environment just now. Now that the Du family has been destroyed, the backer he relied on is gone. Brother Su, can I kill this ungrateful white-eyed wolf? Chen Laobo looked at Wu Changxin and realized that it was because of this little guy that his 8 Directions treasure hunting group was disbanded. And the other party has been thinking about his sister. He is not as strong as Wu Changxin, but with Suren's support, he is no longer afraid of him. Ice Dragon King, help him. Suren likes Chen Laoba, so it doesn't hurt to help him. Do not kill me. When Wu Changxin heard the conversation between the two, he turned around and ran. As he ran, he found that his legs no longer obeyed his orders. Looking down, I saw that my feet and the ground were frozen together. In the end, except for the head, other parts were also frozen. With the help of the Ice Dragon King, Chen Laoba caught up with Wu Changxin and punched him in the head. Wu Changxin tried to hide, but it was in vain. He could only watch as Chen Laoba's fist hit his head. Looking at Wu Changxin's body, Chen Laoba murmured. The account between us has been settled. Just when everyone was immersed in the joy of surviving, Li Mu suddenly shouted. No, the 8-armed stone demon is not dead yet. This shout immediately woke everyone up, and only then did they react. Because of the appearance of Vulcan, everyone ignored the existence of the 8-armed stone demon. After so long, the 8-armed stone demon must have evolved. Maybe the 8-armed stone demon also knew how powerful the god of fire was, so he lay there and didn't dare to move. Now that the Vulcan is dead, the 8-armed stone demon may appear. The 8-armed stone demon was now trying its best to resist the will to let it out. Although its IQ is not high, the Vulcan was killed by that human, and even if it evolved, it would not dare to go out. But no matter how it struggled and resisted, that will directly controlled its body. Then a world announcement sounded. Warning, the world boss 8-armed stone demon has evolved to the national level. All professionals are asked to go and kill it. If it cannot be killed within 5 hours, the 8-armed stone demon will evolve to the world level. This announcement directly surprised all the professionals at Blue Star. The 8-armed stone demon wasn't killed? Why did it evolve instead? Oh my god, this is the first time I've seen a national boss. I'm afraid the Dragon Kingdom will suffer heavy losses this time. Once a boss of this level is destroyed, tens of millions of people will die, even if it's just a few. I'm afraid Sichuan Prefecture is doomed. Dragon Kingdom Kyoto. The leader of the Dragon Kingdom has urgently summoned all rank 8 masters to prepare for Sichuan Prefecture. I believe everyone knows the seriousness of this matter. We will go first, and reinforcements from other states will arrive later. The only thing that the leader of the Dragon Kingdom couldn't figure out was why Wang Changjun and so many people from the Du family were involved, so how could the 8-armed stone demon evolve to the national level? The calls to the 3 of them couldn't get through, so he could only lead people to kill the evolved 8-armed stone demon in person. But just as everyone was setting off, another world announcement sounded. The world boss 8-armed stone demon has been killed. Listening to this sudden announcement, everyone who was not at the scene looked puzzled. What's going on? Is there a bug? Didn't the 8-armed stone demon evolve? Why did it suddenly die again? Can anyone tell me what happened? The leaders of the Dragon Kingdom who had just taken 2 steps were also stunned. Lord, what is this? The leader of the Dragon Kingdom frowned and thought for a while, then he was relieved. It was probably that kid who did it. I was so anxious just now that I forgot that he went to the southwest. Master, which boy? The leader of the Dragon Kingdom smiled and said. Haha, who else besides Suran? Suran? That's it? Those present were all senior officials of the Dragon Kingdom and knew all about Suran's information. Is there no limit to his instant kill skill? Have no idea. The leader of the Dragon Kingdom shook his head, then looked at the crowd and said. Okay, just go about your business. It's okay. It's just a false alarm. After everyone left, the leader of the Dragon Kingdom looked to the southwest and murmured. Even I can't see through you. Isn't that kind of terrifying existence your opponent? The leader of the Dragon Kingdom shook his head. This is a double-edged sword. All he can do is try to get closer to Suran. Outside Wanshan City. The 8-armed stone demon who had just stood up and walked 2 steps suddenly knelt down. The scene was filled with rumbling sounds. When the dust cleared and everyone looked over again, the bodies of the 8-armed stone demon had slowly dissipated. This is the dissipation phenomenon that occurs after the monster is killed, which means that the 8-armed stone demon is dead. And world notice also proves this. Ah, you're going to die now. Everyone looked confused. But after thinking about it, it suddenly felt normal. The 1,000-foot-high Vulcan was instantly stunned, let alone an 8-armed stone demon? Everyone was staring at the young man in the field who was slowly sheathing his knife. His eyes were like looking at a monster. Suran's image has been speculated countless times in their hearts. They never believed that this was an 18-year-old boy. Isn't he some kind of deity from heaven who came down to earth for training? I suspect that some kind of son of the Emperor of Heaven came to play in the mortal world. Seeing that common sense cannot explain it, they have begun to imagine Suran as a character in those myths and monsters. No matter who he is, the important thing is that we survived, we didn't die. Yes, we survived. Everyone cheered together to celebrate that they were still alive. Limu and Limu looked at each other, the shock in their eyes never stopping. Is that human being? Even if you start to upgrade in your mother's womb, you can't be so perverted, right? Who knows? Zhou Bufan smiled bitterly and shook his head. Limu suddenly thought. By the way, didn't he get a ray of sword intention from Lord Sword God? Could it be? Sir, that is the light of a sword. I can clearly see it. It is definitely not the intention of a sword. Oh, I can't explain it. Forget it. I'm too lazy to guess. I'll ask the king afterwards. Suran paid no attention to their discussion, but looked at the place where the 8-armed stone demon's body disappeared. There was a pile of colorful equipment lying quietly on the ground waiting for him to pick it up. I changed my profession and became a concept god, shocking the world with one knife. Author, How Like the Human World. Chapter 225. Look what I got this time. Suren remembered that the world boss Cyclops he killed last time was the one he had just awakened from. A few months have passed in a flash. Originally, he didn't plan to intervene this time when everyone else was about to finish the fight, but the Du family wanted to attack him, so he had no choice but to accept the 8-armed stone demon. Suren bent down and picked it up, and all the equipment and materials were put into the system backpack. Suren opened it and took a look. There were a total of 12 pieces of equipment from left to right. Suren, who was below the legendary level, just ignored it and didn't look at it. Equipment of this quality might be priceless to others. But to Suren, it's not much different from garbage. At most, it's just a few pieces of valuable garbage. A total of 2 pieces of the above legendary equipment were released, and there was no mythical equipment. It's still too difficult to get mythical equipment. Suren clicked on the 2 pieces of legendary equipment and took a look. Stone Giant Armor. Part, Clothes. Level, Legend. Wearing level, 8 to level 1. Physical defense, 65,000. Magic defense, 65,000. HP, 500,000. Special effects. The wearer can actively activate the special effects of this equipment during the activation period. He will obtain a shield equal to his maximum blood volume x 10. The shield lasts for 120 seconds until it is broken, and the cooling time is 1800 seconds. Explanation: the 8-armed stone demon's protective armor has extremely high defense. Hit me hard, haven't you eaten yet? Shoes of Stone Giant. Part, Shoes. Level, Legend. Wearing level, 8 to level 1. Physical defense, 30,000. Magic defense, 25,000. Moving speed, minus 500%. Special effects: while wearing these shoes, the movement speed is greatly reduced and unable to fly and jump. The wearer can additionally gain an extra defense attribute improvement effect. The specific effect is extra defense attribute times 5, no cooldown. Explanation: it's really heavy. After reading these 2 legendary equipments, Suren didn't like any of them. Without them, the level requirements were too high and not suitable for him. And this looks like a beating equipment for a meat warrior. He doesn't need to be beaten. Suren skipped the equipment backpack and looked into the materials backpack. This time only 1 piece of material fell out, a black bead. Pearl of the Void. Category: Special Materials. Grade: Explanation: it was brought here along with the 8-armed stone demon. The specific purpose is unknown. Suren looked at the bead next to it, which was also a void bead. He already has 2. What's the use of this thing? Suren remembered that the owner of Liulai Island seemed to have collected this thing from everyone. When Suren was checking the equipment, Limu and others had already gathered around, but with the Ice Dragon King nearby, they did not dare to get too close and stopped 10 meters away. Everyone was curious about what the 8-armed stone demon dropped, but they were just curious. After seeing Suren's terrifying strength, they didn't dare to take action against Suren unless they didn't want to live anymore. When they saw Suren raise his head, everyone knew that Suren had finished looking at the equipment, so Limu took the lead and said. Limu, the governor of Sichuan Prefecture, has met Suzaiyao. Zhou Bufan then raised his hand and said, Zhou Bufan, the lord of Wanshan City, has met Suzaiyao. Although the 2 of them are the 2 biggest officials in the local area and their strength is level 8, they don't dare to overestimate Suren. I can only say hello cautiously. After all, the young man in front of him can kill gods and demons with 1 sword. There is no room for them to deal with it carelessly. After so many years in a high position, Limu was so nervous in front of others for the first time, for fear of saying the wrong thing. Others did not dare to say a word and waited quietly for Suren to speak. No one knows Suren's temper, so they don't dare to talk nonsense. Suren glanced at the two of them and nodded slightly. Is there something wrong, two adults? Suren asked. No. Nothing happened. We are here to thank Suzayawa for saving his life on behalf of Wanshan City and all the people of Zishuan Prefecture. If you hadn't taken action in time to kill those two gods and demons, Zishuan Prefecture would have been removed from the list. Li Mu said this and bowed sincerely. If Suren hadn't taken action, Zishuan Prefecture would have been destroyed in the hands of the fire god and the eight-armed stone demon. There are hundreds of millions of people in Zishuan Prefecture, and I am afraid that not a few will survive. This is a great merit. This is a name that all people in Zishuan Prefecture will remember for a lifetime. The others also bowed down and bowed after hearing this. Suren had also saved their family and deserved their bows. Although Suren only made 2 blows in an understatement, they could not pretend that nothing happened. Suren didn't think much about it. It was just because the Vulcan wanted to kill him and he just fought back casually. Just do it casually. You don't have to pay such a big courtesy. That thing wants to kill me, so I can't let it go. Young friend Su is too modest. When I return to the state capital, I will report this matter to the king. If Suzayawa and his family come to Zishuan Prefecture in the future, we will bear all the expenses. Li Mu once again thanks Suzayawa for saving the people of Zishuan Prefecture. After speaking, Li Mu bowed again. Okay, I have something else to do and I have to go back to Wanshan City. I'll see you all when you have the chance. Chen Laoba and his sister are still lying at home waiting for help. Suren cannot possibly forget this. As for these so-called merits and virtues, Suren didn't take them seriously at all. He didn't kill those 2 gods and demons just for these things. Chen Laoba's eyes turned red when he heard this. He knew that Suren was anxious to go back and save his sister. If someone else had made such a huge contribution, I am afraid that they would have been dizzy by the praise and would have gone to enjoy their own contribution. But Suren still remembered his sister at this time. How could Chen Laoba not be moved by this? Brother Suren, Chen Laoba didn't know what to say for a moment. Suren had only known him for less than a day. Stop standing there stupidly. Don't you want to save your sister? Suren stepped on the Ice Dragon King's head. Chen Laoba wiped his tears and quickly followed. The Ice Dragon King roared away with the 2 of them, and soon disappeared into the sky. Li Mu glanced at the battlefield that had been destroyed beyond recognition, and then asked the people behind him. Who was the big man next to Suren just now? Who is his sister? Someone who knows Chen Laoba explained. Lord Governor, that man's name is Chen Laoba, an aboriginal of Wanshan City. His sister's name is Chen Yao. She was poisoned by an unknown toxin a few years ago and is currently bedridden. I heard she is about to die. I heard that Chen Laoba has tried all kinds of methods in recent years but can't cure his sister. Li Mu nodded, and then said in surprise. Suren can still cure diseases. Forget it, geniuses are always different from ordinary people. Li Mu cupped his hands and said to everyone. Everyone, thank you all for staying. Li is very grateful. Now everyone can clean up the battlefield. Everything belongs to you. Don't fight over it. After hearing this, everyone quickly thanked Li Mu. These are the things left by the Du family, although many equipment and materials were lost with the death of the Du family. However, there were still many weapons left at the scene. It's also a huge amount of money for them. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I changed my profession and became a concept god, shocking the world with one knife. Author, How Like the Human World. Chapter 226. Zhou Bufan glanced at the people cleaning the battlefield, frowned and said. Should we give some to Suren? After all, the Du family was destroyed by him. Li Mu smiled when he heard this. I think he doesn't like these rags, but the Du thank you gift is still indispensable. Let's go back to the city first, eradicate the remaining members of the Du family, and then go visit Suren. Zhou Bufan nodded upon hearing this. By the way, where are the Cheng family members? Why haven't they been seen since the beginning? If you didn't tell me, I would have almost forgotten. Where did the Cheng family go? The two stared at each other with big eyes and small eyes, full of doubts. The two of them couldn't figure it out, so they could only quickly clean up the battlefield and return to the city to investigate. But until dark, the Cheng family did not come back. Now everyone knew that the Cheng family would not be able to come back. In one day, the two most powerful families in the southwest were wiped out. This incident naturally surprised all the people of Wanshan City who had just escaped from the threat of death. The collapse of those two mountains shocked them even more than the so-called national boss they had not seen yet. After all, the influence the Du Cheng family had on them has been there since they were born. Two big trees fell, and the remaining saplings began to move. However, this idea was eliminated that night. All families were given a warning that night, the details of which are unknown. Anyway, all the families contracted their camps the next day. Now, the most famous name in the entire Wanshan city is Suren. Everyone is discussing this name, although only a few people have seen Suren. But they knew through official announcements that a man named Suren saved them all. Suren didn't know the situation outside. At this time, he was summoning the Poison Dragon King to detoxify Chen Yao. The poisonous Dragon King personally took action, and the poison that had been entangled with Chen Yao for several years was naturally easily removed. Without the torture of toxins, Chen Yao's complexion quickly improved. After all, no matter how weak she is still a professional, and her physical fitness is not comparable to that of ordinary people. I have to say that the sister of a rough guy like Chen Laoba is quite pretty. No wonder Wu Changxing keeps pestering her. Thank you Mr. Su for your life-saving grace. Chen Yao immediately knelt down. This was the only way she could express her gratitude. She wanted to use another method, but after hearing her brother tell Suren's deeds, she knew that she was not worthy of Suren. This kind of divine being is not something that ordinary people like her can look up to. The gap between the two is too big, they are not from the same world at all. I don't know which girl can win Mr. Su's favor, alas. Chen Yao sighed in her heart, then shook her head. Brother Su, there are many people outside. Chen Laoba hurried in and saw his sister's face was rosy. He knew that his sister was cured. Chen Lao Beifeng had been waiting for this moment for several years. His mood at this time, which was already approaching despair, could only be described as complicated. Boom! Chen Laoba knelt down. Before he could speak, Suren helped him up. Can you brothers and sisters change your way of thanking me? Why do you kneel down when we meet? But brother Su, Chen Laoba really couldn't come up with anything to thank Suren. Brother Su, I think you are still single, right? How about I betroth my sister to you? Oh, brother, what did you say? Hearing her brother's straightforward words, Chen Yao's already rosy cheeks turned even redder. She lowered her head and secretly glanced at Suren's reaction. Suren's mouth twitched. You are really her brother, you just sent your sister away like this. Naturally, Suren would not agree to this. He shook his head and did not continue to talk about this topic. By the way, what did you say happened outside? Suren also heard some noise at this time. Oh, yes, many people came outside and said they wanted to see you, saying they came to thank you. Governor Li and City Lord Zhou are also here. Hey, don't you know? To avoid being said to be cold and unkind. Suren is out. I see there are all kinds of luxury cars parked outside. What's going on? With Suren's strength, he would definitely not let his sister suffer again. Suren? Is he the one who saved our Wanshan city? Why is he in our gymming lane? Then I'll match you up, what do you think? With your looks, you can rank among the top 3 in our Wanshan city. Brother Su shouldn't refuse. After Suren went out, Chen Laoba quietly asked his sister. Chen Yao lowered her head and whispered softly. Who doesn't like a peerless hero, let alone such a young peerless hero? After hearing this, Suren realized that he originally didn't like these social events, but everyone else had already arrived at the door, so it would still be a bit uncomfortable not to go out to meet them. Chen Yao shook her head when she heard this. Her daughter's family was more considerate than the boys. I don't know either. I just heard that Chen Laoba knew him and invited him to his home to treat his sister. I know. But no one dared to step into the courtyard, they were all crowded in the alley outside. By the way, there is also Minister Wang. I heard from him that you know him. Seeing that Suren didn't refuse just now, Chen Laoba suddenly felt that something was going on. Xiaoao, what do you think of Brother Su? I heard that all the prominent figures in the city are here, asking to see Suren. Although Suren did not refuse just now, he also did not respond directly to this topic. Chen Yao nodded lightly. Oh, well, Xiaoao, you have to know that if you miss this time, it may be forever. Nature is wonderful. You brothers and sisters talk first, I'll go out and take a look. Outside the hospital. When Suren walked out of the house, the courtyard was already crowded with people on 3 levels inside and 3 outside. He was not thinking about himself, but his sister had suffered for so many years, if she could follow Suren. So that's it? Then it seems that Chen Laoba is about to rise again. Who says it's not the case? It's my thighs. Oh, why am I not so lucky? I don't know who yelled, and everyone looked at the young man who walked out of the house. Li Mu and others, as well as the heads of major forces in Wanshan City, all gathered here. This is an old alley and old street. With so many big figures gathered here, it naturally attracts countless residents to watch. So she understood that Suren was unwilling. However, no one had any complaints. If they could take advantage of today's opportunity to connect with Suren, then they would have a worry-free life. Forget it, brother, he and I, we are not suitable. I changed my profession and became a concept god, shocking the world with one knife. Author, How Like the Human World. Chapter 227. Is this Suren? Many people were whispering there and looking at Suren. You are younger than I thought. You are so young and promising. I don't know if he is married. I have several daughters who are similar to him. Boss Song, I'm only 18. The youngest of your daughters is already 20, right? Haha, age doesn't matter, maybe he just likes the big sister type. Then if he really wants you to send his daughters away together. Why not? They are lucky to be able to follow such a strong man. Ahem, please be quiet. Li Mu coughed twice to prevent these people from talking more and more crookedly. Wang Changjun's complexion improved a lot at this time. Professionals can recover very quickly as long as they are not fatally injured. Seeing Suren coming out, he was the first to go up. Suren, we meet again. Suren was a little strange when he saw him. Minister Wang, what a coincidence. Why are you here in southwest China? Suren even suspected that he was following her. After all, it was his temporary decision to come to the southwest to do the mission. Except for a few people in the Dingsheng group, no one else knew about it. Haha, to be honest, it was the king who asked me to come. We will discuss the specific situation separately later. There are many people here, so Wang Changjun will naturally not talk nonsense. Suren nodded, looked at the people in the alley and asked. What are they doing here? Is such that Zhou Bufan stood up and explained. The people here are the leaders of the treasure hunting groups of the major chambers of commerce in Wanshan City. I came here tonight to thank you for saving Wanshan City and everyone. Zhou Bufan turned around and looked at everyone. Everyone, please take out all your thank you gifts and place them by the corner of the courtyard. After Zhou Bufan finished speaking, everyone took out the things they had prepared. The Zhu family of Wanshan City would like to thank Mr. Su for saving his life, and hereby gives you a 1,000-year-old stone spirit crystal. The Song family of Wanshan City would like to thank Mr. Su for saving his life, and I would like to give you a scale of the Yamata no Orakai. Wanshan City. Wait a moment. Suren quickly stepped forward and took the red box that the head of the Song family had not yet put down. Su, Mr. Su, is there any problem? Song Chinjua asked nervously. Others also looked at Suren nervously. They could accept their gifts if Suren didn't like them. If Suren was unhappy because of the gift, then they would be a little panicked. The fate of the Du family is right in front of them, and they don't dare to offend Suren. And the Cheng family, it is said that they also fell into Suren's hands. The amiable-looking young man in front of him was not a good person. Suren didn't reply to him, but quickly opened the box. Song Chinjua didn't dare to express his anger at this time. He got the contents of this box by chance. After knowing that they were the scales of the Yamata no Orakai, he carefully put them away. Inside the box, a palm-sized scale with a faint green luster was lying quietly inside. Suren picked it up, and a cold feeling spread to his hand through the scales. Snake scale. Category, material. Level, legend. Use, armor making, mission items. Explanation, the scales of Yamata no Orakai have good defensive effect. Special, if the Yamata no Orakai is within 10 miles of this scale, the scales will heat up. After looking at the scales again, Suren put it away. I didn't expect to collect a scale from the Yamata no Orakai here, which was an unexpected surprise. This Wanshan City is worthy of being a place for treasure hunting. Although the other party clearly said it was a gift, Suren was not the kind of person to take other people's things at will. This thing is useful to me. I wonder what you want. Hearing this, Song Chinjua almost jumped up with excitement. He originally thought he had given the wrong thing, but he didn't expect it was what Suren needed. This scene made other people in the alley turn purple with jealousy. Is there any mistake? Song Chinjua is really lucky. I also met the person selling this thing before. I thought it was just this one. It had little effect and the price was high, so I was reluctant to buy it. Now that I think about it, I really fucking regret it. Suren cupped his hands towards him. Thank you very much, Boss Song. Yes, I do. Currently I only lack two things. One is the scales of the Yamata no Orakai, and the other is the dragon crystal. But all the bustle in the world is for benefit, and all the hustle and bustle in the world is for benefit. Although Suren only asked his name, he knew that was enough. If you have any information about this, you can contact me through the Longwu Guild. When the others saw Song Chinjua's expression of wanting to laugh but not daring to laugh, they felt extremely depressed. Mr. Su, is there anything else you need? We have all kinds of treasures in Wanshan City. If you tell us, maybe we can help you find them. As for these things, please take them back. They finally understood that instead of giving random gifts, they should take the initiative to ask. Song Chinjua was extremely excited at this time, if it weren't for the fact that there were so many people watching here. But that part is definitely not much. People living in this world always need help from others. Just like this snake scale, if they hadn't come to him to take advantage of it, he wouldn't have been able to get one here. Suren looked at his age and saw that he was almost 50. He really couldn't say Xiao Song. Yes, Mr. Su, please tell me and we will do our best to help you find it. Most people come here to take advantage of others' influence, which is why Suren doesn't like this kind of social interaction. While everyone was talking, Song Chinjua had already calmed down his excitement. May I ask Gao's name? After Suren finished speaking, he looked at the gifts in everyone's hands. From now on, who in Wanshan City would dare to offend Song Chinjua? Suren thought for a while and said, Master Su, you saved us all. Since this thing is useful to you, you can just take it? How dare I ask you for something? Suren asked him. He would jump up excitedly on the spot. Suren has no shortage of other things, including equipment, materials, money, and so on. Money may not be able to buy what he lacks. If they could get a thank you from Suren, they would make a lot of money. Suren knew that these people were just talking for a moment, and maybe some people came to sincerely thank him. Young Master Su, you're welcome. This is what I should do. Maybe there is something Suren needs in his collection. And it was enough to get Suren's thanks. Everyone will know that Song Chinjua gave Suren something he needed. Don't dare, don't dare. My name is Song Chinjua. I am the boss of Sunzan Pavilion in the city. You can just call me Xiao Song. At this time, someone asked. I changed my profession and became a concept god, shocking the world with one knife. Author, How Like the Human World. Chapter 228. When everyone heard this, they couldn't help but feel a little disappointed. They didn't have these two things Suren needed, especially the dragon crystal, which they had never heard of. But after thinking about it, everyone felt relieved. With Suren's strength, things that are regarded as treasures in the world are probably no different from trash in front of him. Seeing that Suren refused to accept their things, they had no choice but to take them back silently. This time, Song Chinjua got a good deal, and they thought that they would have to cooperate with him in the future. That's not right. I'm looking for Song Chinjua, why not Chen Laoba? Chen Laoba has nothing now. If I help him, I can also join Suren's line. Some smart people are already planning how to get close to Chen Laoba. Although they didn't know how good the relationship between Chen Laoba and Suren was, Suren stayed at Chen Laoba's house for one night and treated his sister. This is very telling. Little did they know that although these people's operations allowed Chen Laoba to rise again in the future, it made Chen Yao so that no one dared to approach him again. Because no one knows the relationship between Suren and Chen Yao. Of course, this was a long time ago. After sending away the others, only Li Mu was left in the yard. In order to prevent eavesdropping, Li Mu also specially set up a formation in the yard to isolate the outside world. Suren looked at their actions strangely. What on earth happened so mysteriously? Li Mu looked at Wang Changjun and said. Minister Wang, tell me. Wang Changjun nodded. Suren, I came to the southwest after receiving instructions from the king. The purpose is to eliminate these two cancers of Du Cheng. The king guessed that you would conflict with them, so he asked me to follow you in advance. The Cheng family must have been destroyed by you, right? Suren nodded after hearing this, but still explained. They hired some Wanchao old man to deal with me. They took the initiative to attack me. I was acting in self-defense. The three of them laughed when they heard this. This boy was quite wary. Wang Changjun waved his hand. It doesn't matter if it's true or not, as long as the Cheng family is destroyed. I came to you today because the king actually wants to ask you for a favor, but I don't know if you are willing. The king still needs to ask for my help. Suren was a little confused. There are so many capable people and strangers in the Dragon Kingdom, where do you need his help? Wang Changjun seemed to know what Suren was thinking, and smiled helplessly. Some things are difficult for even the king to solve, so we must find someone to help. And you happen to have this ability, so I found you. But this matter may offend many people, it depends on whether you are willing. If you don't want to, we won't force you. If you are willing to help, no matter what requests you have in the future, as long as they are not against morality or against the interests of the Dragon Kingdom, you can put them forward and we will do our best to solve them for you. After hearing what Wang Changjun said, Suren said with some interest. What's the matter? Tell me. You should be aware of the existence of the aristocratic family. They divide themselves into one party and recruit high-level professionals for their own use. As time goes by, the power in their hands becomes stronger and stronger. But the country's top experts had to guard the outer battlefields and abyss, so their existence was ignored in the early stage. By the time we react, these aristocratic families have already taken root in the local area. Their foundations are solid and their branches are intricate. If we touch them rashly, we will definitely be boycotted by other aristocratic families. When the time comes, internal and external troubles will come together, which will definitely affect the situation. But if we don't move them, their power will grow stronger and stronger. Nowadays, in every state and city across the country, there are quite a few cities controlled by aristocratic families. This is just like the feudal rule hundreds of years ago. Sooner or later something will happen. So the king has been trying to find ways to maintain the situation and eliminate these aristocratic families, but the results are not obvious. Until you suppress the Su family's momentum in Kyoto, the king saw a new solution. For example, this time you destroyed the Du family and the Cheng family. Because you had a grudge, other aristocratic families didn't dare to say anything when they saw it. This was a personal grudge. It would be different if we destroyed these two families. This would definitely cause dissatisfaction among those aristocratic families. I understand. Hearing this, Suren probably understood. He is now a sword of the Dragon Kingdom, a sword that can wipe out all the major families. And it's a reasonable knife. That's not right. There are so many aristocratic families in the Dragon Kingdom, and I don't have enmity with every one of them. You can't possibly let me take the initiative to trouble them, right? Wang Changjun smiled when he heard this. How can you wipe them all out? If you wipe out a few more families, it will be enough. The mother's family of the second bedroom of the Su family is also a big family. If you are interested, you can ask them to do it. Originally we didn't plan to let you participate in the national trials and selections, but you still have to participate this time. Why? Suren knows that this trial is to select people to participate in the World Championship. Does his strength still require selection? Wang Changjun smiled again. Because we hope you can go in and cause some trouble. Well, try your best to provoke the children of those big families. They are arrogant and domineering, and they will definitely not let you go. As for the fact that you exposed your strength today, the War Bureau is already helping you hide it. Although I don't say that you can hide it from everyone, but under the circumstances, it is still possible to hide it from most people, as long as you enter the trial dressed weakly. And don't take out your pet beast, otherwise it will be exposed directly. Are you trying to make me the sixth child? Suren always solves problems with one blow. When did he become the sixth child? What does Laolu mean? The three of them were puzzled. Nothing, a term of appreciation for others. So that's it? This thing of yours is of great benefit to the future. It is indeed worthy of praise. You are the one who will decide this. Suren's eyes twitched when he heard this. He did not continue to discuss this topic, but asked. When does the trial start? 7 days later, there will be a directional portal in each state capital, and all those who are above level 4 and meet the age limit will be transported to a small world secret realm. There, you need to complete the corresponding tasks and advance to the next round after accumulating enough points until a qualified person is finally selected to represent the Dragon Kingdom in the World Championships. Wu Zhenyang will tell you the specific rules after you return to Longwu Guild. Do you have any other questions? Suren shook his head. Then, you agreed to the matter about the aristocratic family. Suren nodded. The king was actually quite nice to him. Moreover, Suren also knew a lot about what these aristocratic families did. Having grown up in an orphanage, he knows how difficult life is for the people at the bottom. Coupled with the exploitation and oppression of these aristocratic families, it will be even more difficult for them to survive. If the prestige of these aristocratic families can be destroyed, it is not impossible. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I changed my profession and became a concept god, shocking the world with one knife. Author, How Like the Human World. Chapter 229. Kyoto, in a courtyard. Shen Lingyun hurried back from the outer battlefield, and the first thing he wanted to do was find the leader of the Dragon Kingdom. Mr. Shen, something happened again in Tianguan. The leader of the Dragon Kingdom asked nervously. The plan to wipe out the aristocratic family has just been formulated. If something happens again on the outer battlefield, it will have to be abandoned. Although the harm done to the family is huge, it is still much smaller than that of the demons outside the territory. Shen Lingyun waved his hand after hearing this. It's not that something happened in Tianguan. I came back this time to ask you if something big happened in the country today. Event. The king thought about it and realized that the appearance of the world boss was a big deal. Yes, there is, but it's just two big things. A state-level boss was spawned in the southwest region, but I couldn't kill it, and it finally evolved into a national-level boss. And next to the boss, a huge creature claiming to be the god of fire was summoned by someone from the Du family. Hearing this, Shen Lingyun frowned and said, National-level world boss. Vulcan. It seems that the aura is that of the Vulcan. Seeing that the king could sit here calmly, then the matter must have been resolved. Shen Lingyun said a little strangely. Are there any hidden masters in the southwest? Why don't I know about them? As one of the top combat forces in the Dragon Kingdom, he is naturally very clear about the masters of the same level in the country. All rank 9 players are guarding the outer battlefield at this time. Even the old guys were frightened when they saw that aura. How could anyone be able to kill these two terrifying creatures in an instant? Seeing Shen Lingyun so surprised, the king couldn't help but smile and said. Mr. Shen seems to have not been so surprised for a long time. In fact, he is not a master of hiding. You know that person and have met him once. Oh? I know him. What's his name? Shen Lingyun became even more confused. Suren. Suren? Are you talking about the kid who broke into the Tongtian Tower last time? How can this be? Shen Lingyun looked at the leader of the Dragon Kingdom in disbelief. The strength Suren showed was indeed terrifying, otherwise he would not have been recognized by his senior brother Sword God. It's just that the power of that breath has surpassed them. If Suren killed the Vulcan, doesn't it mean that Suren has surpassed these old guys at such a young age? This really made him unable to believe it. I know Mr. Shen doesn't believe it, but it is the truth. The power Suren displayed can no longer be explained by common sense. It just so happens that you are back. I have a plan to wipe out the aristocratic family. I have asked Wang Changjun to negotiate with Suren. It depends on whether he is willing. The leader of the Dragon Kingdom told the plan again, and Shen Lingyun nodded after listening. Feasible. But can Suren lend it to us for 2 days? Let him go to the outer battlefield to kill some outer demons. It's a bit of a waste to have such a powerful force here. Well, Mr. Shen, my plan has not been implemented yet. Besides, we try our best to conceal his strength. We still need to rely on him in the World Championships. Isn't it too early to let him go to the outer battlefield now? After all, he is still a child. What kind of child is not a child? With such power, Why can't you compare him with other people of the same age? If he really does what you said, I'm afraid I'll be chopped off by him if he makes a move. The king nodded. Makes sense. But not this year, maybe next year. After all, he is still young, and his temperament needs to be tempered. The battlefield in Tianhui is full of dangers, so I am not very reassured. Shen Lingyuan said nothing more after hearing this. He knew that the king loved talents, and there was no way he could let Suren go to heaven now. This has to be done gradually. Okay, I thought something would happen down there, so I just rushed back. Since everything is fine, I'll go back first. Without waiting for the king's answer, Shen Lingyuan stepped out and disappeared into the courtyard. The king looked at the empty compound, then looked up at the night sky. Extraterritorial demon. No, my goal is to follow Lord Sword God. I also want to go to the starry sky to see what the scene is like outside. After the king finished speaking, an unparalleled momentum burst out from his body, but he quickly withdrew it. The king shook his head and murmured. My strength is not enough, Suren, I have to rely on you. Wanshan City, in Cock Crow Alley. After Wang Changjun and others had a conversation with Suren, they also said goodbye and left. After removing the shielding formation, Chen Laoba took his sister out of the house. Chen Laoba was once the leader of a treasure hunting group, so he was certainly not stupid. Xiao Hizi, you are exaggerating. I am only the third in the world. The first is Master, the second is Sister Caier, and the third is me. Why didn't this dragon see how pretty that girl is? In my opinion, a good-looking one must have a pair of cute dragon horns, the claws must be small, and of course the body must be slender, and the scales must be shiny. You didn't watch them while they were eating, so Yao kept secretly looking at the master. So soon? Can't you stay for 2 more days? It's not like there's nothing to do when we go back. At least what Wang Changjun and the others said needs to be carefully planned. Demigod beast? Haha. I didn't expect Suren to leave so quickly. Brother Long is number 1 in the world and will always be a god. Go away, silly dragon, you know nothing about human aesthetics. Brother, let's go buy some food. I'll cook some of my specialty dishes for him to eat. Oh, okay. Humph. Shika, don't bully this dragon just because your master likes you. Don't forget that this dragon is a noble demigod. Tisk, 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 that pitiful and reluctant look, I feel pity for you. Steal, haha. The 3 of them chatted for a long time until late at night before going back to their rooms to sleep. Suren was lying on the bed thinking about how to become the 6th child, but a discussion started in the pet space. He originally wanted to find an opportunity for his sister to take Suren around Wanshan City. Oh, what next? Do you want to give you an award? The first is Shika, the queen of the forest who likes yin and yang. Suren really didn't have much experience in being the 6th child. Chen Laobo looked at his sister and then at Suren. The Ice Dragon King nodded happily this time, and then released his foot from stepping on it. Steel looked down at his stepped foot, nodded hurriedly and said, Ah! The Poison Dragon King, who had been silent until now, also added something faintly at this time. Let's go early tomorrow morning. My mission is done, and there is no point in staying here any longer. So I didn't ask Suren what the others were talking about. Shika glanced at it with contempt. Let me tell you, I doubt that master is good at it. He is still unmoved by such a beautiful woman in front of him. If it were me, I would pounce on her long ago. That night, Chen Yao cooked a table of food to thank Suren. This was the only thing the brothers and sisters could bring out. After hearing this, the Ice Dragon King said disdainfully. Suren shook his head. Brother Su, when are you leaving? Xiao Hizi, do you think this dragon is powerful? Being despised by the collective, the Ice Dragon King felt that the dragon's face was a bit embarrassing, and immediately turned to Steele, who was hiding behind and did not dare to participate, and asked, "I changed my profession and became a concept god, shocking the world with one knife." Author, How Like the Human World. Chapter 230. Early the next morning, under the shocked eyes of the two brothers, Chen Laoba, Suren directly dug a space wormhole in their small courtyard. Then he stepped into the wormhole and disappeared. "Brother Su, what kind of magical method is this?" Chen Laoba is also planning to send Suren to Fiashu Transportation Center. Turns out it wasn't needed at all. "Brother, is this a space skill?" "Yes, but Kyoto is so far away from the southwest. I have never heard of any space skills that can travel so far." Chen Laoba smiled bitterly. The methods Suren showed casually were things he had never seen before in his decades of life. Maybe his sister was right, they were not from the same world as Suren. Being able to meet Suren is probably the blessing of their brothers and sisters who have cultivated for 3 generations. Just as the two were about to turn around and go back to the house, a large group of people had already gathered. It was the same group of people yesterday evening. When they heard that Suren had left, everyone was a little disappointed, but they immediately rushed into the hospital and started looking for cooperation with Chen Laoba. When Chen Laoba saw this, he could only thank Suren again in his heart. He knew that Suren had brought these to him. Kyoto, outside the small world of Longwu Guild. There was a lot of excitement outside the small world today. Because the trial period was approaching, the guild students who had gone out to experience an upgrade rushed back early. Before the little world opened, everyone stood there and started chatting. "I don't know which senior brothers and sisters in our guild can enter the world championship this time. I think only senior sister Mu Hongxia and senior brother Lin Shenyan have a chance. I heard that senior brother Lin's strength has skyrocketed recently, and I don't know what kind of opportunity he got. It's really enviable. Can he be a match for senior sister Mu if he is a 1,000-year-old man?" The person speaking was Mu Hongxia's fan at first glance. When Mu Hongxia's name was mentioned, the look of admiration in his eyes never stopped. "Haha, you can't say that. No, have you forgotten that there is another person in our guild? I think he is the only one who can stably enter the world championship." "Oh? Who is it?" "These people are all people who have been practicing outside for many years and don't know much about things in the guild. Hey, everyone has heard of Junior Suren, right? Do you think anyone in the Dragon Kingdom is his opponent in this trial?" "Suren? The genius who topped the Donghua Prefecture exam. Junior brother, your information is lagging behind. Junior Suren is someone who has passed through the 40th floor of the Babel Tower, and has been recognized by the Lord Sword God." "Really? Is it so scary?" A group of people who didn't understand Suren exclaimed. They naturally knew the concept of the 40th floor of Babel Tower. Without the strength of around rank 7, it was impossible to pass the level. It is said that I only reached the 40th floor with the help of Lord Sword God, but I still have the strength to reach level 6. Do you think it's still not possible to enter the World Championship with 6 turns? When everyone heard this, they couldn't help but nodded. 6 turns is enough, and they have only turned 4. The main purpose of coming back to participate in this trial is to compete with the geniuses from various states to make up for the shortcomings. At 6th turn, that was already the existence they looked up to. Junior Suren is only 18, right? How can he level up so fast? This puts us senior brothers and sisters to shame. Haha, who knows? I couldn't believe it at first, but then I felt relieved. Maybe this is a genius that only happens once in 1,000 years. I feel a lot better when you say that. You can't compare to a genius and a monster, so let's compare it with someone with the same talent." While everyone was still discussing, Suren's wormhole opened. "Huh? Why are there so many people?" Suren didn't want to show off, but there were so many people at the door every time. Damn it, space skills, who is this boss? These skills of time and space are not something that ordinary people can possess. Everyone looked at it. Junior Suran. Just as we were discussing Suran came. Good morning, brothers and sisters, have you all eaten? Suran had to come out now, so he waved his hand and said hello. Junior Suran has such a unique way of saying hello. But he doesn't seem to be as aloof as those so-called geniuses. He is very approachable. At this time, a few bold seniors approached Suran and asked. Junior Suran, I heard that you have cleared the 40th floor of Babel Tower? Can you tell me what level you are at now? I thought it was because the signal was not good outside the city, but after a day and a night I still couldn't get through. I sent people to his hometown to look for him, but no one could be found at all. I couldn't find you until now. At this time, the door to the small world opened, and everyone entered one after another. On the throne above the main hall, a man wearing a black mask was sitting on it. 100% triggered by catching a bare-handed sword with bare hands. Master Su, something serious has happened. Dong, the chairman is missing. Junior Suran, you have already cleared level 40, how could it be level 3? Just reveal it. Suran walked behind. Just as he was about to enter the small world, the phone in his bag rang. It was Lu Chang, manager of Dingsheng Group, calling. The chairman didn't say he would take his friend's body back to his hometown for burial, but since yesterday, his phone has been unreachable. Suran's vision came to a dark and damp stone hall. Several senior sisters were a little disappointed when they heard this, and then walked away after making sure. Suran didn't explain to him. After hanging up the phone, he went to a deserted place and took out the knife. Xiao Ding was tied to a stone pillar with his head hanging down, looking depressed. What's the matter? Speak slowly. But others didn't believe it at all, and no one would believe it. Manager Liu's urgent voice came from the other side of the phone. Suran kept in mind that Wang Changjun asked him to be the sixth child, and tried his best to make his strength look less strong. I was able to clear the 40th floor of the Tower of Babel only with the help of Senior Sword God. In fact, I'm not that powerful. The senior students didn't know whether they were squeezed by someone or on purpose, but they directly surrounded Suran in the middle. Then cut it off with a knife. Lu Chang didn't understand. After Suran looked around, he reluctantly broke away. Me? Turn 3. Ahem, senior sisters, calm down. Before he could react, Xiao Ding, who was originally tied to the stone pillar, disappeared out of thin air. Smelling the various fragrances around him, Suran couldn't stand it. Manager Lu, what's the matter? Xiao Ding is missing? I understand. He will be back soon. Huh? Who is spying on me? Ah. Suran didn't lie, he was indeed only in level 3. Yes, we are all in the same guild. These senior sisters are dressed in open clothes. They are crowded together and looking at the white masses, it feels like most people can't control it.